Hello and welcome back to Coursecast. My name is Tim Mears. Today I'm joined by two Earth Science students at the University of Oxford. Here's some highlights from today's episode.
Sometimes it's a bit daunting because you're going from a lesson where you're learning about physics and you're going completely into something completely separate, going to climate science and it's completely separate. And sometimes there's a lot of overlap. But really, you can do anything.
I don't really enjoy the geology side, but it is something that you grow to like because it is quite interesting at the end of the day. Even though when you're looking at the slides, the little slides, you're just saying this is so boring. I'm spinning this around. I'm drawing it. I'm so bad at drawing. This is like an awful drawing. But then you tell yourself, oh well, from what I've drawn, what can we infer on the past of this rock, how it's formed? And then if you think more more like broadly, I guess you do find it interesting because it's like
When I first came to Oxford, the second year said to me, if you don't like rocks, it's okay. There's not too much rocks in the course. Learn rocks. I like looking at rocks. And turns out there's a lot of rocks in the course, so I think they lied to me.
Our guests today are Benedict, who's a second year Earth scientist here at Worcester College, and he is captain of Coxes at the Worcester College Boat Club, and Scarlett, who is a first year and plays uni tennis. So my first question for you both is why did you decide to pick sciences? What drew you to the degree?
So I feel like I've wanted to study earth sciences for a long time now, just because, well, when I was maybe like 12 or 13, I was researching courses I could do. I was already thinking about that
Wow.
at that age, because I knew I wanted to come to Oxford. It's kind of been like a lifelong dream of mine. And then the only question was like, what course? And I was looking through them, and I stumbled upon earth sciences, and it seemed like a very broad course that's very interdisciplinary and links a lot of things that I enjoyed. So a lot of like STEM subjects, which is what I was good at school at that time. And I kind of like fixed on that. And for the rest of my life, I just had that in my head that I was going to study earth science at Oxford. So I never really gave it any second thoughts after that.
Cool. And was there a specific part of Earth sciences you're like, I'm really excited to do that? Or was it just the fact that it could do loads of things and it was kind of got lots of STEM going on?
I think for me, I was very interested in the climate side of things.
Okay.
So I knew I wanted to go into that, and I really enjoy like ecology, biodiversity, and all that. So science was really like a path to get there, and it also like obviously includes a lot, and you can do a lot from it just because it's very broad, and you specialize as you go.
Cool. And do you have like a career in mind, like afterwards, that made you pick Earth sciences, or was it more of just like, this is a really cool subject and it ticks lots of boxes for me?
At first, I wanted to be like an ecologist,
Okay.
so a kind of government advisor ecologist, where I'd kind of be like, I'd look at different projects going on and advise in terms of the ecology. But now I'm kind of leaning towards research. 'Cause I did a bit of research over my gap year, um, where I was working for my uncle, and then so I've kind of leaned towards like climate research, which would be quite fun
Cool.
working in a lab and seeing what I can do from there.
Yeah, awesome. Right. So same kind of question for you, Benedict. Why Earth sciences?
I think that's got it's one of the biggest assets of the course is how broad it is. So obviously we've got the geology, the fundamental part of the 3 year course is called geology, but then you've also got the climate science, you've got the planetary science, you've got the physics, chemistry, biology, maths. It sort of brings in all the parts of the course that I was doing at A level I really enjoyed, um, and also brings in stuff I hadn't necessarily done too much of, like the climate science, the geography side of things. And I didn't really know what I wanted to do. I know I enjoyed geology. I enjoyed being outdoors.
Hmm.
I thought let's go for an outdoorsy degree. And then obviously in terms of where I go in the future, I still don't really know. It's a lovely course in that sense because you can just go anywhere from it. You can specialize in so many different things. Sometimes it's a bit daunting because you're going from a lesson where you're learning about physics and you're going completely into something completely separate, going to climate science and it's completely separate. And sometimes there's a lot of overlap. But really you can do anything from it, and I think that's quite fun. That's what I enjoy. It's not just doing one thing and sort of looking at everyone else's degrees and going, "Oh, that's quite cool." It's looking at their degrees, going, "Oh, I do a little bit of that sometimes,"
Yeah,
which
Cool.
which
yeah,
is
no,
quite nice.
that's a good way to describe it. You know, we do so much, and no, it's quite nice to know that even if you don't like one part of the course, there's another part that you'll necessarily like because it's so broad. So I think compared to other subjects that do like sort of pure physics, if they don't like, I mean, obviously they do different kinds of physics, but it is physics,
Mm.
and we do physics, but then also chemistry or biology. So I can say I actually don't really enjoy physics, but I really like chemistry.
Great for sending puns to people as well. I've done quite a lot of biology-related puns to the biologists.
Oh, perfect.
Quite a fun little thing you can do because little physicists, little physics puns, and they're like, "Do you know about this?" Like, yeah, we study that.
Yeah.
And particularly with the mathematicians, because we send them math jokes, and they go, "Oh, we don't do that till the 4th year." It's like, "Oh, okay, that's nice." Navier-Stokes equations,
Yeah.
not fun.
Okay.
So yeah, it's quite nice. It's varied. When I first came to Oxford, the second year said to me, "Oh, if you don't like rocks, it's okay. There's not too much rocks in the course." Learn rocks. I like looking at rocks. And turns out there's a lot of rocks in the course, so I think they lied to me.
Okay. So did you you mentioned your A levels? What A levels did you do? And Scott, I don't know if you did A levels, but what
I did the Swiss equivalents because I live in Geneva.
So what did you do? How did that lead into the course? And are there any that you think are really important or essential for doing this course?
In terms of the essentials, it's when you look at the course requirements, it says you need maths at an A level. So an A grade, A level. Math is quite important. Obviously, in the first time, you do a lot of maths.
Yeah.
Everyone goes, "Oh, this is crazy," and then you go on, and the maths diminishes, and you can specialize. I also did physics and chemistry A level, which again will really help for those specific areas of the course. They really bring in a lot together. I was also lucky enough to do geology A level. I know lots of people aren't able to do that. Which one was the most helpful? Probably all of them equally, to be fair. A lot of the geology is taught from scratch in lectures, so you don't need to know any of that at all. Again, the physics and the chemistry, it helps if you have seen it before, but it's not necessary at all. I know people who've done the biology or who've done geography who have found it a little bit easier at the start of those parts of the course, but now we're all
Great. And Scarlett?
For me, so I did the Swiss system. So the way it works is you do all the subjects and you also specialize. So obviously I did English, history, geography, all of them. But I specialized in STEM subjects. So I did biology and chemistry and like this extra level physics, which wasn't that in detail. And then also the equivalent of further maths. So I would agree that the further maths is very helpful. So I'd say that's probably the main one. But then apart from that, all the sciences are important. So I think you mentioned like geography. I know some people have done geography, and then you can choose whatever you want, but make sure you have like maybe one science and maths is what I'd say. I think they say that on the requirements as well. But then I didn't do geology, and to be fair, that didn't really matter because they do teach it from scratch. Okay, but I know some people find it easier because they've done
the geology is really useful for the practical sides.
Yeah,
so the microscope works, identifying minerals, knowing what you're talking about when they put up a rock on the board, and you kind of vaguely know what a granite is, and you know what a gneiss is, and you're bringing it together, but it's all taught. If you go through it, and it might take you a couple more weeks to understand it, but ultimately you're doing the same degree at the same time. Everyone knows it. They're not going to just give you a bunch of rock names and say, "Go away, learn them." They slowly bring it into you.
And it's as you said, because everyone comes from different like A-level backgrounds or like even other systems, they do know that people have done different A-levels, so they kind of start a lot of things from scratch. So like the first few weeks of math, even we were doing things that seemed like too easy almost, and the same thing for like chemistry because I'd already done chemistry. It seemed quite like easy, but then you realize that other people might not have done it, so they kind of bring everyone to the same level.
It's quite nice, especially with the small cohort around. There's 33 in my year. Was still 34. Someone dropped out. And obviously, I'm sat in the math lectures, clueless, no idea what's going on. Looking at the guy next to me, he's like, "Yeah, I know this. And then we go into the next lecture, and it's on chemistry, and I'm going, I understand this. I did chemistry A level, and I'm looking next to him, and he's going, pulling his hair out. He has no idea what's going on. So obviously, you help each other, and you know that some people will be very good at one particular part of the course, and other people will be utterly clueless in that, and it just switches around based on that. And so you never feel like you're top of the year or bottom of the year. There's never any comparison really between students, which I think is quite nice. Lots of other subjects, there's very much this sense of who's doing well, who's not doing well. If it's an essay subject, you're either good at writing essays or you struggle with this. Whereas with earth sciences, it's very much you accept that there are certain parts of the course you like more, certain parts you don't like as much. And because it's so varied and broad, it really doesn't make much of an impact at the end of the day.
Cool.
So
now, what kind of questions are you trying to answer with this degree? Like, obviously, we've talked about it as being nice and broad and taking in a lot of different aspects. But what are you sort of trying to learn, find out about the world, and kind of what methods are you using to do that as well?
Yeah, well, I'll start. Maybe you can complete this because I know you're second year. But for me, I think it's mostly like looking at the planetary systems. So everything that's going on in the planet. So, for example, so you're doing a deep dive in all these different parts of our planet. So it's very much like it's a planetary science. We're looking at like the deep Earth, so in the core, the mantle, what's going on the surface, what's going on in the atmosphere. Then we do even look at like other planets. So it's very much looking at how are these things happening around us? Like where does it start? Where does it finish? And all these different processes, which is quite interesting if you think about it.
Yeah, I think certainly the biggest question people ask is how is it different to geography?
Mm.
And my answer to that would be effectively Earth sciences is concerned with, let's say, the planetary Earth systems, the
Yeah.
processes going on below the ground, with the atmosphere, when you're looking at the cryosphere and glaciation, and all these processes which go on, modeling the impacts of radioactive forcing on climate change, or how we can learn about the history of the Earth through evolution or
Yeah.
through radioactive isotopes and so on. Whereas geography is more concerned with what is the modern day Earth doing and how can that
Right.
impact humanity? What are the interactions between human world and the world that we're observing in Earth sciences? And so a lot of the stuff that we do then influences policy decisions with the geographers are going to be
Yeah,
interested
cool.
in. But yeah, Earth sciences, it's very much about just understanding the Earth. A lot of it's relevant to the modern day, so particularly the climate science and so on.
Yeah.
We've done quite a lot of that recently in the second year, and it's looking at not just the policy decisions that need to be made, but also the science behind why global warming happens, what we know could happen,
Yeah.
and how we can determine what's going to happen based on climate models and so on. And that approach is sort of the most accessible to the general public, but we do that for every single part of Earth sciences, is looking at the evidence, moving forward that scientific method, and then trying to work out what we can gain out of that, which obviously historically was oil and gas, and these days it's now looking at lithium for cars, it's looking at cobalt for batteries, other sorts of mining interactions. Then you're looking at geochemistry, so you're looking at weathering products, you're looking at influence of land pollution. You're then looking at interactions within seismology, earthquakes, hazard prevention. So there's a lot of real world applications for the degree. That's not just sitting in a lab looking at a rock going, "Ooh, that looks quite pretty."
Yeah.
I suppose that's quite satisfying as well because you can really see how what you're learning is going to be useful to you. Unlike maybe PPE, where I'm often sitting, especially my philosophy, I'm sitting there thinking, it's quite interesting, but I've no idea how on earth this is relevant to my real life.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, I'm wondering also, you've both sort of touched on highlights of the course for you. So, looking at rocks and like climate science, what is it you think that specifically draws you to those that bit of the course? What excites you about rocks and what excites you about climate science?
Rocks are pretty.
Okay.
They're like a little kaleidoscope. You put them under the thin section, it's about 30 micron thick, like a glass slide like you see in biology. You put cells on, and you just put it underneath, and you rotate it around, and it changes color. And you go, oh, that's changing color. Then you flip a polarizer, and then this is where the physics comes in with the cross polarized
Yeah.
light, and now suddenly it's making different colors, and they're really colorful. When you write down what colors they are, and then you nice little piece of paper. We love this, and you get 12 pieces of paper or something ridiculous, and you have to draw out what you see in the microscope. So you're looking in and doing that. You're getting motion sticks from moving around, but it's great fun. It's very therapeutic to sit down and draw these rocks, and they're really sparkly. And then you've got to write a bunch of stuff about what this rock is, where it came from, and how you understand that. I enjoy that. I think it's quite fun. I think I'm the only one in my entire year who actually enjoys that. Lots of all-nighters called.
Yeah, definitely. I'm the same. I'm the same. First time all-nighters. But yeah, I'd say like I don't really enjoy the geology side, but it is something that you grow to like because it is quite interesting at the end of the day. Even though when you're looking at the slides, the little slides, you're just saying this is so boring. I'm spinning this around. I'm drawing it. I'm so bad at drawing. This is like an awful drawing. But then you tell yourself, oh well, from what I've drawn, what can we infer on the past of this rock, how it's formed, and then you can think more like broadly, I guess you do find it interesting because it's like, oh, because of this mineral, then it must have been like an igneous rock, must come from a volcano, must have done this. So I think that's quite interesting that you, from like these tiny little minerals, you can tell the whole like history of the
Yeah.
rock. I
You
think
can always answer like the broader questions of, I
Yeah.
know where this rock is, and now can I link it to this other rock and go, oh, these rocks were in a collision zone, so this must have been a mountain belt. And then you
Yeah.
go, oh, here's another rock, it's just sediment which came off that mountain belt, and you can always keep asking more and more questions and broadening out from just a
Yeah,
particular rock into
definitely.
like the whole depositional system.
I do really like the fact that we're kind of studying the past to understand the present, and which will help us predict the future in a way. So there's this link in like on the general like Earth time scale, which is interesting. So even though if you don't enjoy like geology, you do enjoy like what this will lead to and what you'll learn from it.
Yeah.
That's what I think.
That's really cool that you can tell this massive story from
Yeah,
just the rock.
from these tiny little elements. But that being said, I don't enjoy the coursework. But yeah, I mean it's interesting, but it's not something I particularly enjoy. But I am growing on
Yeah.
it. It is something that you'll have to do a lot over your degree. So even if you don't like it, you will have to do it. And
I reckon you'll enjoy the second year.
I think I'll start enjoying it because I am
Second year's
enjoying it more
fantastic,
now.
gotta say. Lots of more applied stuff.
Well, let's talk about that. Let's talk about course structure. What is it like first year versus second year, and then going into third year, and then essentially doing your integrated masters as well?
What have you been doing recently?
So at the moment we're doing a lot of like stats, and that's in maths and coding. Then we're doing cryosphere, thermodynamics.
What for the uninitiated? What is the cryosphere and what is thermodynamics?
So what just for example, cryosphere is the study of like ice sheets, glaciers, that kind of stuff. It's quite interesting. And thermodynamics is an aspect of physics. And I'd say the difference between first and second year, first year is really bringing everyone up to speed on all the different A levels that we've done. And then kind of introducing us to like the coursework we're going to be doing the rest of the time, like field trips, field work, how that all functions. And just kind of leading us into second year, which is when like magic really starts to happen, I guess.
Okay, tell us about the magic then.
I was gonna say the first year is very much skills based. There's a lot of maths, which I obviously didn't enjoy. I'm going this year a lot more because there isn't maths. But it's bringing together your physics, your chemistry, your biology, and all the rest of it.
Yeah.
By the time you get to the second year, we're now branching out. We've done the basics of rocks. We're now looking at sort of expanding those, going into more depth. So we're looking at metamorphic rocks. We're looking at Barovian zones, which are zones that you can find where a particular mineral within the rock, say chlorite, indicates so a low grade metamorphism. But all this one contains a sillimanite, and this is a high grade. But the fact it contains sillimanite indicates it was the original rock may have been some sort of something containing more aluminium. So perhaps it contains some micas, or perhaps it was a chelite or some sort of clay. Those are the sort of the bigger questions that we're asking beyond the sort of fundamentals of how does a rock form, what are minerals, how do they interact, what's the crystal structure. We've also now looked at radiometric isotopes. We've built on the stuff that we did last year on meteorites. So a lot of it is the same content, but you just go into more niche areas and you apply it. Obviously, we've now got the climate science, which builds on the stuff that you did, or going to do on the cryosphere, on oceanography, a lot of the circulation and so on, which Helen actually then brings in on her climate change topic. And if you're like me and you didn't really revise that because you convinced yourself that you weren't going to do that one for the exam, you're now a bit stuck in second year because you're realizing, oh, maybe all that stuff in first year actually was slightly useful. So,
okay, and then looking forward, third year, and then integrated masters. Obviously, you're not there yet. What do you know about that?
So obviously the course is a 4-year course. Everyone is set onto the 4-year course originally, which is the integrated masters. You leave with a master's in earth sciences, which is a badge of honor. Most people do stay on, either because they're like me and they don't know what else they do, or it's just the right decision for them. Some people do leave, but most of the time when they leave after 3 years, it's because they have found an opportunity elsewhere. So there was a guy who went to go to Exeter to do some mining stuff. So if they have a more specialist bit of geology that they'd rather go into, they leave after 3 years, and they get a bachelor's in science. So the course structure, we don't choose any modules until the third year, which I know is really unusual. Not just Rockford, but generally. So I'm doing all my compulsory modules now. So if I really didn't like climate change or believe it was a hoax or something silly like that, stuff it. You've got to do it anyway. But then you go into third year and you start to choose
Okay.
modules. Yeah,
So then the climate deniers can be okay.
Yeah, you start to choose modules based on which field trips go with which modules.
Yeah.
So,
Okay, yeah. Then field trips. What are the field trips like? How often do you have them? And have you had any sort of standout experience? Yeah.
how much did it rain in Pembroke for you?
So Pembroke was at the very beginning of this year, which was actually really nice because we didn't really know anyone, and we all went on this field trip
Yeah, I
to
remember
Pembrokeshire
that. Actually, I
together.
remember that.
And because Earth Sciences, as you said, it's like a very small course. Oh no, so you're 33, we're
Yeah.
38, which is one of the smallest courses, I'd say. We bond a lot as a group. So these field trips really help with that, especially the first field trip. They kind of just throw you in there and you like look at rocks and you just all like have a good time together. So I really got to know my course-mates and you make a lot of friends and it's a lot of fun really. It did rain a lot, to be fair for us. Well, I mean, we had 4 days. I think we had 2 out of 4, which isn't that bad. I think you guys had the
That's
worst.
nice.
But we did have some sunny days, which was good, which was appreciated.
Yeah, I think the issue that my year group had is that we had Freshers Week.
Yeah.
So you're meeting everyone, you've all got Freshers flu, and then literally the first week of term we went out to Pembroke.
Right.
Because the accommodation works out. I think you were possibly the second or third week.
No, yeah, we were a bit later.
A bit
The second
later,
week,
which
I'd
is when
say.
it's meant to be, but we were in the first week, and so we all had Freshers flu the entire time. Everyone was knocked out. I had
Mm.
crazy conjunctivitis the entire time, massive cold, there were people staying at home. It was lashing it down. We had people getting cut off by the tides and, people getting water all over their boots and all the rest of it. And then people went swimming afterwards, and it was a great time.
Okay.
It was a lovely bonding experience.
Yeah. Shared trauma.
I think the difference
Yeah.
with a lot of other smaller courses is that I know I have friends doing classics, and they sort of you go into a lecture at the start of the year, and they say this is the only time before exams that you'll actually be all together as one cohort. Whereas I see everyone every single day
Yeah.
for 3-4 hours, lectures and practicals. We
Right.
go on week-long field trips with each other once a term on average, with a couple of other day courses in Trinity term
And
as well.
what's been the best field trip for you?
Ooh, for us, probably Dorset. I think they get better as you go on.
Really better
If
than
I'm
Aaron.
honest, Aaron was good.
Because we have Aaron coming
Aaron
up.
was great fun.
Right, yeah, doing the back at the end of the back. So everyone's really excited for that. We've heard great things. It's like a 10-day field trip in the Aaron, Scotland, and it's basically it's really nice. We're staying in nice accommodation. Apparently, we've
Good.
heard about 3-course meals.
Wow.
The food is nice.
The food is nice,
Very nice.
and just the vibes are apparently really good. And you got
So it's great fun. You go from the first one ever, which is Pembrokeshire, which is just horrid.
Mm.
It's almost like they design it to sort of scare away people and go, if you don't like being outside in the rain, this isn't this isn't the degree for you. If you don't have waterproofs, you don't have waterproof trousers, and you're not willing
Yeah,
to just sit there going, miserable.
it's fun because of
Then-
the people, not really because. And I found it quite boring, if I'm honest. I was falling asleep doing when we were all sitting down listening to our Joe.
I love Joe.
Yeah, but it was fun because you're all getting to know each other and you're starting to like people. You're like, oh, well, actually, this isn't so bad.
Especially when you actually get to talk to people in your year group and find out who they
Yeah,
are.
and then you go to the pub in the evening, which is arguably the best bit. And
Much pub happens on field trips, let's be honest.
yeah, a lot of pub happens.
Much pub goes on in Aaron as well, let's be honest.
Can't wait.
Aaron's good fun because you actually start to do stuff on your own, and you're going in the field, and it's not being thrust upon you. You go, oh, actually, I understand what I'm looking at. I understand what this rock is.
Mm.
And then obviously you move into Dorset in the second year, and now you're starting to do stuff more independently, and it's still taught, but you're actually understanding what the rock is that you're looking at, rather than going, it's a rock, let's draw a little sketch. Joe loves doing sketches. Many of the other field demonstrators aren't as keen on
Thank
sketching
God.
every single rock out.
So much sketching.
So much sketching goes on. Oh my word! Oh, should we have a little sketch? Don't want to have. I've got some in front of me. I've got my notebook, and you'll flick through, and you see a bunch of. That's the microphone. Flick, 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 flick. A bunch of sketches and
Show it to the camera, maybe.
yeah. So let's see. We've got a. It was raining on this day.
Okay, so not many sketches.
So not many sketches. I've got
There's some good ones.
little fossil sketches going
Those are
on.
good.
What's happening? I've got sketches
Ooh.
I do of an outcrop. So here I'm looking at. Here's a bed. I'm looking at the major features. There's a little fault going on. Here I was looking at a particular fault. So it's you get a lot better at sketching as you go along. There's an
Yeah.
awful lot of
Yeah.
drawing and doodling, which I think is quite therapeutic, and
Mm.
other people think is incredibly boring. So it
I was
really
gonna say,
depends.
yeah, mine looked nothing like that. So bad.
Yeah, and you can tell. I think that was my possibly the start of Aaron when it was raining, and then you look at my Dorset one. It's pristine because it didn't rain one bit. No,
Really, oh,
that
amazing.
might have influenced why everyone liked that
Yeah.
one a little bit more. They gave us the afternoon off on Aaron. They gave us a Saturday afternoon off. We appreciate it's a lot of walking. It's quite hilly, so had the afternoon off to relax. And so I think all but about 3 of us decided let's go hike up Goatfell, the tallest peak in Aaron, which was great fun. But I'm not sure the lecturers were too impressed by the fact that we all came back the next day going, my legs are really tired. And,
And more
Yeah.
hiking.
and they said, we did give you the afternoon off. What did you do? We just hiked up this peak, 2,000 feet.
So it is basically, if you're an outdoorsy person, it sounds like a
Yes.
brilliant degree for you.
Yeah,
Yeah,
because there were lots of options to do non-outdoorsy stuff, but you've still got to go on the field
Yeah.
trips, and you've got to be able to sit through a little bit of rain
And a lot of
sometimes.
walking, definitely.
And a lot of walking. We all have our hiking boots
Yeah.
and so on. So yeah.
Yeah. Now, what about practicals? Are they more of a hoop to jump through, or do they really develop your understanding, and how do they sort of work with or against the lectures, that sort of thing?
Yeah, practicals are quite fun, I'd say, because you're all sitting there and there's a lot more communication going on. For example, the lectures, everyone's just sitting and listening, taking notes. But in practicals, you're actually chatting and comparing what you're doing. So I think practicals are definitely more fun. And you have the helpers and the who are walking around, like helping you out. So we have practicals for like mapping, for example, where you're looking at maps or making maps yourself. And then you have the more the fossil kind of ones where you look at fossils, drawing fossils, understanding fossils. And it's all very interesting because it's like putting into practice what you've learned in the lectures. So some more, and you get to like touch these actual fossils, which they usually bring in from like the museum, for example.
The museum will have
That's
pictures
cool.
at the back of the
Museum.
room, and
Which is good, and everyone's like looking at them and be like, oh, this is an ammonite, this is this is that.
yeah.
Trying to think
Your
of fossils.
echinoderms and
trilobites.
5,000 trilobites.
Yeah, and then
graptolites.
and that's all. That's all a lot of fun because you're all like together and sort of chatting and
Yeah, it's great fun. There are sort of two broad types of practicals. The first one is sort of maths problem sheet.
Right.
I'm sure the mathematicians will tell you all about their problem sheets, and then they get 3 a week or whatever ridiculous amount they get. It's sort of like that. You go through and you do a bunch of questions on chemistry, and there are PhD students, demonstrators who are there to help, or the lecturers there to help as well. The other type is where you have some microscope in front of you, or you have these physical fossil specimens, and you're
Yeah.
required to do things like sketch them, or annotate parts of the fossil, or look at the features and understand them in a way that you've sort of introduced in lecture. Often the practical might start with a sort of a 10-minute overview of, here's a reminder of what you're actually going to be looking at today.
Mm.
Definitely helps to have reviewed the lectures beforehand.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's definitely a really good way to complement the learning, and they're usually 2 hours long. The lectures are 1 hour long. We have these lovely facilities with these nice wooden tables.
Yeah.
And the like, so you can sit down and pull out your microscope from behind you and get going on the rocks.
Yeah.
Cool. And what about tutorials? How did you find the transition from sixth form, whatever, high school, to these totally new way of learning, and how do you think it helps you as an earth scientist, which you maybe wouldn't get if you were just doing your lectures and your practicals?
I think the difference between earth sciences at Oxford compared to other Oxford subjects is that our tutorials are very much department based.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we don't go to college to do our tutorials. It's all run by department, and we have college tutors.
Yeah.
And they will set certain topics and activities to do. But it's very much based in department. So a lot of that is it's going to be almost like a practical, but sort of 3 or 4
Yeah.
going over a particular problem set related to lecture courses, or related to something that's sort of broadly useful skills. That might be things like stereo nets, or that might be things like looking at seismic sections, which are skills that you're not necessarily going to explicitly learn in the lecture courses, but are things which will come up time and time again, and it's useful to be able to interpret them.
Yeah.
So
It's really good because you have in the department loads of different specialists who are really good at their own individual subject. And so you can have tutors with these specific people who know their subject really well. So you're obviously with these specialists who are going to like sit you down and like go over this problem sheet they made you do and like talk it through, and they just always explain it like really well because they obviously know it. So it's the kind of thing where you get set uh, maybe like 6 or 7 tutorials in like one. It's just,
Your thoughts it.
it's like, it's like lock in in one term.
Sorry, I derailed us.
You-
I was going to go the highlight section.
oh no, that was my bad. I shouldn't. Yeah, so in one term you're gonna have like loads of different, loads of tutorials with these specific specialists, and it's always really interesting. So, for example, this week I have one coming up on like paleontology, I think. So we're gonna be looking at fossils, and then next week I've got a couple. One on isostasy, which is gravity,
Yeah.
and one on thermodynamics. So you got to prep for it. They give you like a problem sheet, and then you just talk through it with your group and your tutor.
I think that's also something that's unique to the earth science course, at least here, is that a lot of other degrees, when they're doing their work, they're set an essay to do, and they go back and they do the essay.
Yeah.
And
That's my experience.
yeah, a lot of particularly humanities students, a lot of the learning is self-led. You go get some books, get some primary reading, some secondary reading, some tertiary reading, some quaternary reading, and so on. And
Yeah.
you go through, and you never get past the primary reading or even the first. And you go through and you then write an essay and then you submit it, and that the tutorial is the primary source of your study. Whereas in earth sciences, at least in Oxford, it's not the primary source of your study; it's the primary source of your revision.
Right.
And
Okay.
consolidating your knowledge and understanding, going, do I actually understand what's happening in the lectures? In terms of work that you do outside of lectures, if you're really good at making lecture notes, then technically you don't have anything to do outside. You go to the lecture and you finish it and the lecture's done. If you understand the lecture content, you're really brainy or something like that, that's it, you're done. It's just the tutorial work that you have to prepare for.
Yeah.
Obviously, that means that lots of people do a lot of work, lots of people do not so much work. But the tutorial is the only time we actually ever submit work that isn't coursework.
Often the coursework, yeah. That's true.
Okay, and then so you mentioned coursework, and then you've got your tutorial work. How do you sort of perceive the workload? Are you a high workload Oxford course, a low workload, or is it just like it really just depends on the individual, and it could be anything?
Yeah, it is, as you say, it really depends on the individual.
Yeah.
Like at the moment, I think I'm not putting in that much effort. So
What does that look like though, in terms of like how many hours would you say?
But at the moment,
it's
it's a bit bad. I don't this to anyone, but I'd say I'm working like less than an hour a day or something really bad.
wow.
Or like no, maybe like 2 hours a day if I can be bothered.
In addition to the
in addition to like my lectures that I sometimes
And your
go to,
tutorials and your
and tutorials and
practicals. So you're more maybe realistically doing 4 or 5 hours a day.
Yeah, to be fair, no, additional work is only like maybe 1 hour, sometimes 2. But yeah, we do have a lot of contact hours. That's something else we should be prepared for. We have, I think, feels like many more than a lot of people.
We don't have as many as the medics do or the chemists do,
Right.
but we certainly were
You're
up there in terms of contact hours. I think probably
Just because there's
slightly
so
more than physics even.
So how many hours a week would you say?
It really depends on the terms. Like some terms you're going and you have 10 a.m. Until 11 to 12, 12 to 1, and then you've got 2 hours in the afternoon. Could be a typical day. Sometimes, obviously on Wednesday, if I think in the afternoon, sometimes it's only 2-3 hours.
Yeah.
And it can really range. Today I had 2 hours. Tomorrow I think I have 5. So the average I'd say was about 3 to 5 hours.
Yeah, I agree.
On sort of particularly in Michaelmas, you have a lot more.
Yeah, and then you have the tutorials, which takes up time as well, and the practicals, which is always 2 hours. So I just feel like there's a lot of
So you're still doing like 30 plus hours work a week, realistically, even if you feel like you're not doing very much. I think you maybe get a bit of a warped perspective at Oxford as well.
Definitely.
There will be somebody who do like 50 hours a week, because they just love it so much.
I know people in my year group who they love the degree and they do the degree a lot. People who are very good at time management, in particular, will manage to find an hour between 2 lectures, I know that Scarlett and myself probably would just be chatting
Yeah.
to friends. And there are other people who will be there with their headphones on in the Earth Science Library who will be actually being productive,
Right.
shall we
Yeah.
say.
Which is a good
Um,
idea, to be fair.
But it's difficult, obviously, because I've got some friends who do humanities, and they're like, "I'll come to the library." I'm like, "Nope, I finish at 4 p.m. every day."
Right.
And
Wow.
finishing at 4 p.m. every day, or most days when you have practicals, it's great. But then obviously you're then looking at managing your time. When
Yeah, you've got-
when am I going to do these
yeah.
practical things? And then by the time you start looking at when am I actually going to sit down and do my work, you're
Yeah.
starting to look at working in the evenings or
Yeah.
perhaps finding extra times.
So when you say finish at 4 p.m., you mean finish the contact hours, the
finish
university
the contact
provides
hours
stuff.
at 4 p.m.
But then you've got to do all your other work after.
And then I've got to go over the lecture notes. I've got to make sure that I finished off the practical, filing all that, and then make sure I've done the tutorial work.
Yeah.
And also then there's the thing of, do I want to do any wider reading? There's no requirement to do any wider reading. I've never had to do any wider reading.
Yeah. If you
Do
want
you?
to.
You don't have to.
You do.
Some people do. I've done it for a couple of courses and found it helpful, particularly if you have a lecturer who you're thinking, I just don't understand what you're saying on this particular thing. And you read a textbook and you go, it makes sense.
Yeah.
But a lot of the struggle is that the textbooks are aimed at people who know what they're talking about, ironically, and I don't know what I'm talking about, and therefore it's a struggle. But there's never any requirement to go and do extra reading, which I guess is a good thing because I wouldn't have time to do it.
Yes.
No. But I don't think it's that much work because sometimes you finish your day and it's like 4 p.m. and you're like, well, do I want to do work? I mean, I've been to these lectures, I've understood them. Maybe my notes aren't that good, but it's fine. But I don't have any tutorial work, so I'm just not going to do any work.
I do much more work if I didn't have a social life. But I do have a social life, and therefore I don't do any work because none of it's necessary work.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is very much like the more you put in, the more you get out. Like, for example, at the moment, I feel like I'm not putting in much work. So then when I go to the lectures, I don't necessarily understand it that much. So I'm just not really. So I feel like if I did a bit more work, maybe it all would be.
With so many contact hours, I could spend an hour after each lecture making the best notes I possibly can. But then obviously now I'm spending another 4 hours of your day doing it. It's just not sustainable. I think that's a lot of the difficulties. You will have to chop in the holidays as well and just go through your lectures and make sure you've actually got your notes aren't just scrawled across your page.
Yeah.
But you can't sustain doing however many hours that you want to commit. It feels like you're either committing an extra 4 hours per day to make your notes complete, or you're committing effectively nothing and having a social life afterwards.
Yeah, exactly.
And then maybe regretting it a bit later.
But yeah, the VAC is usually a busy time because you have to review all your lectures. That's what I did, for example. Like I went over most of my lectures just because a lot of them maybe I wasn't paying attention to, maybe I was like doing something else. So maybe I skipped it because I had other things to do, which sometimes people do. So then over the back I did like listen to my lectures because they're online and make sure I understood everything, like did very extensive notes. So it is a lot of VAC work, let's say, as a course because of the number of lectures and the number of days where you're like, maybe I'm a bit tired, I'm going to do like sport or something else.
Of course, it's quite good for that though because everything is recorded.
Yeah, for sure.
Pretty much. So you can catch up.
Yeah.
And sneak off and do a bit of tennis.
Yeah, exactly.
Cool. Were there any misconceptions that you had about this course? Anything you came into it thinking, oh, this is what I thought Earth Sciences would be, and then you were totally wrong? Or would you know exactly what you were going into?
Misconceptions. Maybe I feel like a lot of people think that all of Earth Sciences is rocks, don't they? Like, you spend your days colouring maps and drawing rocks and looking at rocks and sniffing rocks and looking for rocks.
The irony, everyone sort of disses on geography and goes, oh, your degree's just colouring maps. We genuinely do a lot of colouring in maps.
And it is a lot of looking at rocks, but it's not as much as people think it is. It's very balanced.
I mean, if you think about the exam structure in the first year, it's rocks. It's just one paper of 4.
And in those exams, are you drawing things? Are you writing things? Are you doing maths? Is it usually of everything?
Written. So there'll be math. There'll be short responses. There'll be longer essay responses.
Yeah.
Kind of just like a generic A-level science subject, but
it's
longer than a 6-marker kind of thing.
Yeah.
Almost, I'd say, sort of a GCSE geography paper. With the observations, describe and explain questions, and then building up into the longer, here's a case study, effectively, here's a particular system, talk about it.
Cool. Perfect. Now let's talk about admissions. So I guess it's a little while back for both of you because you've had a gap year and you're second year.
Yeah.
But if you can,
I actually applied during my gap year.
Oh, did you?
so
Oh,
it's
perfect.
first year.
That's better then. Now I'm correct me if I'm wrong. You don't have a admissions test, do you?
Don't.
We
Okay.
don't, which is great.
It's great, but how do you make yourself stand out? Like, what did you do in your personal statement that meant that they took you for interview? Do you think?
I think in my personal statement, so I kind of had a sort of like storyline going on. The fact that I was very interested in climate. So I started out just talking about why I was passionate in climate and things I've done related to that. And then brought in like things I'd read around the subject. And I kind of linked the whole climate aspect to geology and how we can use geology to understand the climate better. And so I kind of showed my passion for the subject through a specific lens in a way and brought in like extra reading I'd done and extracurricular activities perhaps and like different camps I did. So you kind of you need to show your passion, which is I mean the same for every course, but you because it's such a broad subject, I'd recommend you choose one bit you really like and then build it all around that and how much the effort you've put in to understand it. I think that's just a very personal statement.
Yeah. Because of the way that the admissions work, at least at Oxford, they sort of interview everyone who meets the requirements.
Okay.
Yeah, 90% of people are interviewed.
Oh, okay, right. So it's not like
So-
you're having to fight your way through with a personal statement. You've got a very
It's
good
most
chance of it.
everyone.
Yeah.
Okay.
They didn't talk about my personal statement in mine. I think a couple of people it was
Me
mentioned. Most of them it wasn't. It's very much a set. We have one quantitative exam where they're effectively going over maths and
In your interview.
Interview.
problem solving in the interview, and then there's another interview in which it's more sort of qualitative, and you're thinking more about earth problems and systems. So it's a lot of very much problem solving. What I would say though is if you're applying to earth sciences, you're a nerd.
Mm.
You'll come to terms with it eventually. You're a nerd, and just speak about the course, what you're interested in. Obviously, you're interested in it enough to apply, not just for quite a nerdy degree, but also one at Oxford. And so
Yeah.
you need to start thinking about why you actually enjoy it. And if you just show that you're interested in the degree, have an interest in it, and just generally read around the subject, think about why it is that you enjoy it, ask these questions. In terms of the personal statement, it's very much a case of following that storyline of why did I first get interested in
Yeah,
earth
yeah,
sciences,
definitely.
and then building off that.
Yeah, there's a lot of pressure on the interviews because you know, like 80%, 90% of people are interviewed. So during the interview, they sometimes will ask quite tricky questions and they just want to see how you react to it. Like for me, for instance, they showed me a picture of a church that was destroyed. And they were like, how was this church destroyed? And I was obviously very confused. So I suggested a few things like earthquake, for instance. And then they were like, no, it's not earthquake. It's something that they showed me a graph to do with like the water level and how it had risen, how it had not risen, but it was somehow related to water, even though. So I suggested tsunami, but then they're like, no, the water did not rise. Basically, the answer was the ground beneath the church fell below the sea level. So even though the sea level did not rise, it was the church that
So the
went
church
down.
sung. That's
So,
really
Yeah.
and
cool.
I obviously didn't think of that because that's the most random thing ever.
Yeah.
So, but then they were like, oh yeah, this was the answer. But obviously we did appreciate your suggestions. You're obviously thinking it through. And then when they told me the answer, I was like, oh, that makes sense because of this. So they really do want to see how your brain works
Yeah.
and what suggestions you put out then when you are able to ask well and say, well, I'm really stuck here.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, expect things to go wrong. In my maths exam, we were meant to be using this shared whiteboard, and on the day of the exam, or the interview, sorry, the shared whiteboard company decided they were going to have an entire footage. So we
Right.
go on there, and it's like, I'm meant to be doing math on this shared whiteboard, and I can't actually do it. So I ended up getting a piece of paper and just holding it up awkwardly to the screen, and then go, oh, is it focusing? Is it? Yeah, we've lost it. And at one point, they sort of went. They just drew it for me and went, it's what you were looking at. I was like, that is what I was looking at, because I had to just describe it to them and go up, down, left, right. Things go wrong. The interviewers were a couple of minutes late to my interview, and they sort of opened it up and go, oh, sorry, like, just eating on lunch, they're eating their apple in their hand. And it's very much personable. It's very much a case of it's a conversation about the subject and the degree. They want to know that you're interested in it. Everyone at least that I know in my year group, is very interested in the degree. Maybe not necessarily all of it, but they want to be doing it. And that's the most important thing, is know how to problem solve, know how to ask questions about earth sciences, and don't be afraid to get stuff wrong. I got loads of stuff wrong in my interviews, and you'll always come out and you go, oh, that was so bad. They kept telling me what the answer was. They get what they want out of the question, and then once they realise, okay, we've found out your thought process, they just tell you the answer and move on.
Yeah, they know what
leave
they're
you
doing.
hanging and be cruel.
Yeah, they know what they're looking for and they know what they're doing. So you just gotta trust that, even though the questions may seem really difficult. It's just the
And
way.
just odd sometimes.
Yeah, just very
really
weird.
strange questions that they ask, but
Yeah, I mean, sometimes they'll just show you a rock and ask you to describe it, and you're like, how will this help? But which is like valid. But we'll just, they know what they're looking for, I guess.
really specific scenarios about me walking down a river and a particular thing happened in this river, but then I stood in the river and it was just really strange, but
Just strange interviews, to be fair.
yeah, they were looking for a really specific answer, which I was skirting around but wasn't quite getting, and they told me at the end, I thought, they said that. But they're looking for a particular approach that you're taking, and they just want to know your thought process. So my biggest piece of advice would be just
and don't be thrown off by the weird questions. And
just think out loud.
think out loud.
Was there anything that you've reviewed for interview preparation that you found helpful?
Not well. I did a lot of like estimations questions beforehand, because I thought that's what they were going to ask me.
Scaling questions.
But then they didn't ask me any of that. So you really don't know what to expect. And I did a couple of like tutored sessions tailored to like help me with the earth science interview, but none of those questions came up either. So I would say it is difficult to prepare for it. Just read around it very broadly, but apart from that,
Yeah, I'd say
difficult to
know
know what to
your A-level
know
content
your A-level, go over
generally. Obviously, you need to have some base level of math. They're not going to expect you to know it. There are parts where they say to me, "Oh, do you know this particular bit of math?" And I said to them, "Sorry, I don't. I haven't done that yet." And that was absolutely fine. There was one part where they said, "Oh, write an equation for the radiative forcing that's arriving on the Earth." And I said to them, "Sorry, what's the equation for surface area of a sphere?" Because I hadn't remembered. Obviously, that's quite embarrassing. I should know this kind of thing. And they just told me they weren't judging me on how good I was at my A levels. That's what the A levels are for.
Yeah.
But they want you to have some sort of understanding of it so that you can at least answer questions that are related to that. But the assumption being that if you're applying for the degree, you have some baseline understanding of the subject. So yeah, the thing most helpful for me is just going over sort of, particularly with the math stuff, see if you can look at any bits of math and think, can I relate them to earth sciences? Not in terms of specifics, but just generally saying, where would I apply this particular math topic into some earth science problem? Because they do tend to ask those more generalized questions at the start.
Yeah.
Beyond that, you can't prepare.
Fine. Great. And what about non-academic stuff? As I said at the start, tennis, boxing, boats.
Yeah.
Tell me about what you guys get up to outside of earth sciences, and what I guess Oxford has to offer that's not just the sort of what everyone thinks of as just living in a library all day and in the fancy college.
But a shameless plug-in for Worcester College, the only college with on-site sports grounds, including tennis courts.
Yeah.
Lovely tennis courts. Yeah.
No. I'd say definitely Worcester is great for sports because you do have the football pitch, the tennis courts, you have the erg sheds.
Yeah.
You have
What's erging, by the way?
erging is.
I didn't know before I got here.
So you're going in, you're going back and forth, and you're sweating down. There's a person shouting at you, and you're on this rowing machine, and
It's a rowing machine.
Your legs are killing you, but you're like, do you know what? I'm going to look really, really good when I'm shirtless on the water.
But you're the cock, so you don't do that. Do you do the shouting?
I don't do any of the rowing. I just sit there in the boat, and they carry me along like I'm in some sort of chariot.
Yeah.
And I basically tell them what to do, and I stay in the boat.
How did you end up doing that? Why aren't you a rower, and why you were a shouter at the rowers?
My mum said to me when I was in year 13, "You'd be a great cox." And so I went along, and obviously because I'm shorter, I went along to the boat club, and about 5 people descended upon me and said, "You'd be a great cox." That related to my height, and so just stretch around and look around. Dude, not that's at all. We have some tall coxes, but most of us are quite short.
Yeah.
Just sort of, you try it out. I'm now the captain of coxes. So
What does that mean?
I just manage the coxing within college. A lot of the issues are you have certain sort of statuses your Norris Scott experience or senior based on the university's guidelines,
Right.
and depending on how turbulent the water is and how much it's been raining, you have certain coxes that can go out and certain ones which can't. All the rowers really want to go out in the water.
Yeah.
Rowers don't like the erging necessarily. They want to go out on the water.
I know a lot of rowers, and
And so they really like having coxes, and coxes are well loved. I'm not just saying that because I'm a cox. I'm saying that because they need us to go out on the water
Yeah.
with them, and so it's a big part of the boat club. And it also means that I can run away from socials when I don't want to join in,
Cool.
and no one judges because I have power.
No, to be fair, rowing is a lot of fun because I got into rowing just because I was like, it's an Oxford thing, you know, you wanna get into it. So I was like, if I'm not gonna do rowing now, I'm never gonna do rowing. So I mean, the ergs can be they're quite tiring, but you do it when you can't go out on the river really. So at the moment the river's flooded, so no one. So it's just a lot of erging. I haven't even been out on the river yet, sadly. But
Soon.
I soon hopefully. But I do like the erging and the atmosphere. It's a great.
Yeah.
The boat club is really fun.
Yeah,
Everyone's
it's
nice.
really friendly. It's great. If
Really
I can
friendly.
survive in it, anyone can survive.
Yeah, and I'd never
Um,
done erging or rowing or anything like that beforehand, and they teach you from scratch.
We're going on tour to
Yeah, we're going to
Budapest.
Budapest.
In Easter.
Cool. Yeah, I've heard about this as well.
Fun.
Yeah, that would be my first time on the water actually. So
Wow.
hopefully I don't catch a crab.
What is that for people who don't know? What does catching a crab mean?
I actually don't know. I haven't been on the water. I think it's
Again, I'll act it out. Unfortunately, you're rowing along, and then you get to this point here, and you try and take the blade out of the water. So you're flipping it down. The blade's coming out of the water, and for whatever reason, the blade decides to come out of the water, and so the blade keeps going through your chest and goes goes over your head.
I've heard it's like painful.
It depends on whether or not you are flexible enough to yonk yourself backwards and put the blade over your head, or whether
It's a
it
hip
pushes you
flex.
out of the water and you go
Yeah, go in the water.
in the water.
Wow.
No, that doesn't
Hopefully that doesn't happen to
happen.
me.
If you're
Okay.
strapped in properly, it won't happen. But I
Okay.
do know of people who have
Been thrown out.
been thrown out somewhat.
Okay, and then how about your uni tennis?
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
how did you get into that? And did you feel intimidated at all by the fact that you're playing at the university? What's the community like, that sort of thing?
Well, I'd say so. I knew I play a lot of tennis at home,
Yeah.
so I knew I wanted to join the uni tennis. I didn't know which team I had to get on, so you kind of do like trials for that, and you find out about that during Freshers Week, where they have like the Freshers Fair. So you visit loads of different societies, different sports, and then you kind of sign up to the mailing list. They send you a mailing list, and you sign up, and then. So I went to do the trials. It was very well organized, very chill. A lot of people went to the trials, and I got into the third team. And we have like a couple of trainings a week. One training that's like indoors at a club nearby, and it's all great vibes. The threes are all really chill, and we play matches less than once a week. I'd say maybe like once every 2 weeks or something. Sometimes we have to travel, and I'd say it's just a great vibe being in the uni
Yeah.
tennis team because like you feel like quite proud of it, and also you get like a bond with other people who are outside of college, you do
Definitely.
different courses in different like ages as well, and there's quite good like they organise socials and stuff, which I haven't been going to as much as I should have, but I feel like it was all really fun, and we have like a dinner coming up next Wednesday, which is like for the whole tennis club, so it would be really nice to like
Cool.
meet people. So I love uni tennis, and it's not something you should be like afraid to try out for at all, because everyone tries out for it, and maybe you get into a team, maybe you don't, but and you can always like try again.
Yeah.
Uni tennis is a lot of fun.
You also don't have to be good at sport to do it. I also did a bit of college level tennis, and we had a varsity match against our sister college, which is St Cat's at Cambridge. They ranked us all in terms of who was the best and who was the worst. From Cambridge and from Oxford, I was ranked as the worst of the five of us in the Worcester College team, and I think I scored a single point.
Wow.
Three.
It was a
games.
glorious point, though.
It
surely.
was. I think it was a very glorious point. It was probably the most important point I've ever scored in my life. But yeah, you don't have to be that good, and
Yeah.
it doesn't have to be that serious. Obviously, you can then go into the uni sports and actually be reasonably talented. But yeah, there's a lot of opportunity, and it's great for socializing.
Yeah,
Well.
and I would say in general, like, it's not all about working. Like for me, at the moment, I'd say it's the opposite. I'm
Yeah.
really enjoying like the sports and everything Oxford has to offer. So yeah, so tennis has been fun, rowing, learning to row, and then I've been playing a bit of football, which I know a lot of people in Worcester do,
Yeah.
just because we have football fields on site, so it's really easy to go
Yeah.
to and play matches, and it's great atmosphere all the time. Watching the
Yes.
matches, supporting Wakafka, which is the name of the team. And yeah, so I think the sports are all really fun because it's a way to meet new people and socialize even more.
It's great fun, particularly in the first year. First
Yeah.
year's
Yeah,
quite.
first year try
You may
everything.
not realise it when you're there, but first year's quite serious.
Yeah. No, I think I'm
It's
realizing
a
it.
lot of sports, a lot of socialising, a lot of pub. At least for me, it's a lot of pub. A lot of clubbing, lots of going out, and then you get into the second year and you're like, oh.
Dial
And
it
then,
down
and then
a
you speak
bit.
to the fourth years, and the fourth years are like, no, you have it great. Second year's the best. So yeah, enjoy it while you can, and definitely a lot of people have this idea that Oxford should have a social life. At least in the earth science department, we have a lot of social
Yeah,
life.
what about Rocktails? Tell me about
Yeah.
Rocktails.
OUGS. So OUGS is Oxford University Geology Society. So everyone in earth sciences, most people join OUGS. And it's so much fun. So they organize like different events, and we do like so for example, there's Rocktails, which is basically you pay £8 and it's unlimited drinks.
Nothing if you're a sober
all
angel.
night. And you can be a sober angel, you don't have to pay, but you have to look after the drunk people, unfortunately, which you have experienced with me last week. So we had Rocktails last week, and it's basically so you get these really strong drinks, all these between 4 and 8 shots per pint.
Wow.
And everyone just gets hammered, and it's such a fun night. But maybe less fun for the sober angels. You have to bring people home.
I signed up for it, is all I'm going to say.
Yeah,
I
so
knew what I was getting
you
into. I'd
got
already
to
done
bring home.
2 or 3 before, so
Oh,
I've
God.
done it plenty of times. It's great fun. There's
Really
so
fun.
Rocktails is the big highlight of
But
the
then we do
Geological
have other
Society.
things.
We also have pottery painting. We have the bake-offs and things that we're
Bake-offs.
doing. So
Well, this weekend there's the field trip.
yes, the field trip.
OUG, I don't know if you're
Going
going
on field
that.
trip.
Me too.
Yeah.
So there's the OUG field trip this Saturday. So I don't know where we're going, but
Somewhere nice.
yeah, so it'll be fun. So we'll go, and it's only like £11.
Folding.
Do you get to do some chill looking at rocks and
Yeah.
lots of pub?
Lots of pub, and
There's
then
that.
they arranged like a karaoke last time, which is fun as well.
Yeah.
So there are loads
Little
of different
quiz against
things.
the geography department.
Oh,
I think 2 geographers turned
Ooh.
up and they were on my team.
Shoot, sorry, I didn't realise. And then we have Geovarsity, which is when the Geology Society of Oxford plays a football match against the Geology Society of
that's
Cambridge,
great.
and that was last
Yes.
Saturday.
Who won?
We did. Would we win like 12-0? We won.
It was
Oh
quite
my
significant.
Cambridge, they were so bad. Fun days. So we first had the football match, then we had like an erg off, so like erg relaying.
Yeah.
And then
I'm not
after
going to
that,
demonstrate it again.
we all
Yeah.
then we all went to the pub, went to Spoons. We were supposed to play rounders, but it was raining, so we went to Spoons instead. People had a tour date. I didn't go to that, and then everyone met at Spoons, and then went out. So that was really fun meeting people from Cambridge.
We do get on well in the Earth Science department.
Yeah.
It has to be said.
Yeah, and thanks to the OUGS, there's work and socializing.
Yeah, you're not just
included.
doing work with the Earth
Yeah.
scientists.
You're
socializing with them, having a great time, and yes, there is that the Rocktails, which has a reputation among the uni. I'm told by people who are not Earth scientists to be the biggest and best party.
Yeah.
Can non-earth scientists get it?
Absolutely, they can.
guest list. We do have a guest.
We have a
list.
guest list, and non-Earth scientists can join OUGS.
I see.
I think it works out. You sort of get 2.5 or 3 years of Rocktails, and you earn your money back. So
Yeah.
Yeah. Sounds like it. Cool.
Yeah, I would recommend.
Put it out.
And are there any other societies that either of you two are involved in, or is it? I mean, by the sounds of things, you're both quite busy already.
I've been I have the sports, and I've also joined paddle, which isn't a sport. But then in terms of sports, I'm doing improv.
Oh, cool.
Which
Is
is
that Jamie Potter? Yeah.
Jamie Potter, yeah.
Check out the maths episode, by the way. With
Yeah,
Jamie.
shout out to Jamie Potter. I would like to say that I started going to improv, and then I brought him along with
Oh,
me.
yeah,
So
yeah,
I'm
got
the
it.
initiator of it. So don't let him tell you
Celebrity
otherwise.
status.
No, but no, it's really fun. So it's basically like this improv workshop that's completely free, completely beginner friendly, and you just turn up and they just teach you improv.
And improv.
And yeah, exactly. And it's just you just improvise, and it's very chill vibes. A lot of fun. So I do that every Tuesday. Usually after tennis, which is always nice. So I just finish sport and then go to improv. And then anything else apart from improv?
So I briefly went to Historical Reenactment Society, which was interesting because they brought out these proper metal swords and this
Wow.
chainmail and
Were
these
they told you
pads
sharp
and-
swords?
and spears as well, and they were like going through the proper motions. I think this is a little bit serious, and I came back with bruises
Wait,
all the
no
way down
way.
my arm. There was one guy in particular, bless him, who was a little bit too into the sword fighting, shall we say. Didn't really give me much time to get out of the way of the headshots and the rest of it. So I thought, maybe this isn't quite for me. I think there's a lot of people who don't go to any society as well.
Yeah.
People, I did the rowing takes up part of my time.
Yeah.
A bit of
Mm.
tennis with friends on the courts. I know it's people who do the drama. And
Yeah, I think you could just try things out. Like I tried out poker society, but then I realized I wasn't that good at it. I lost like 10 pounds, I think. And everyone there is quite serious, so then I realized maybe
Yeah.
I'm not that good at it.
Scottish dancing seems to be the in thing.
Is it?
Yeah,
Everyone's
we
doing
went-
Scottish dancing.
Worcester College was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then I went thinking and drinking. I don't know if you've ever been to that, which is really fun. I went to one last time. No, this time. Beginning of this time. And that's fun.
The social welfare events in Worcester College as well. Cake at
Yeah.
8, wine at
Yeah.
9,
Yeah.
and all the
Tier
rest
3.
of it. Tier 3, yes, I forgot about
There's the
that.
G&D's.
G&D's
ice cream
trip.
trip.
G&Ds.
Yeah.
I think in general there's a lot going on, so you do need to learn to like manage
Yeah.
your time, which
Yeah.
I don't think I'm doing so well
Yeah.
because I kind of want to try everything out, which means I don't have that much time for
I do
working.
rely on my college husband, college dad, to tell me when these things are going on because I can't keep track of everything that's going on.
Yeah.
There's a lot going on.
Okay, just explain for people who aren't culture students, what is college husband, college daughters, college parents, whatever.
This is my college dad.
Yeah.
College daughter.
So basically, you just you create these college families, which I think is such a good idea. At first, I was kind of weirded out by it when I
It's a bit
first.
strange.
It was
Yeah,
strange.
it is weird. Yeah.
But so you
Oh.
basically like college marry somebody, and
Or in my case, 2 people.
or 2
Right.
people you can have couples, and they can be from different course. It doesn't have to be the same course. And then you guys, when you're in second year, you'll get first year children. When you're third year, second years get their children, so you become grandparents. So just create.
And you'll be great grandparents if you stay on.
Yeah,
for it.
and
Yeah.
you'll be a great grandfather, and
One day.
then I will eventually
Then I'll be a great, and then when I'll come back and visit.
you'll be an alumni and have
Gosh, it keeps going on. I know people who have tracked their college family lineage
Oh wow.
through about 10 years or so. It's,
Stop.
particularly with smaller courses or where there's only one person each year. So AMH,
Yeah,
let's trace it back quite a long time.
Right.
It's just basically a really fun support bubble, particularly for like Freshers Week,
Yeah,
and you
definitely.
get to have these people, these people, I say, these wonderful, fabulous second years like
Yeah.
myself, who get to answer your questions about, specifically your course. Obviously, we do
Yeah.
Earth Sciences.
Just life in general, really.
Yeah.
Then I'm married to a psychologist. I've got a psychology daughter, and then I've got a AMH wife.
AMH.
H in modern history.
Right.
So there's only one of her in the college, bless. And then we've got a college brother who also does that. So there's, they do try and match up people. So
Cool.
you do have someone who's like a peer support for
Yeah.
your course, but also just to get to know other people. And quite a lot of college siblings do end up getting married. It's not that
I
incestuous.
haven't been married to my siblings. Yes, I have heard actually.
I've heard because it turns out that you really like your college family, and sometimes a bit too much, and you get married. But it's nice to meet friends, and to get to know people, particularly. And some people they are a bit weirded out by it, and they just don't engage with it that much. And other times you have an incredibly engaged college father. Who,
I feel like I text you quite a bit, like asking for like advice, or, like questions and stuff. Yeah.
No, I'd pass up the chain.
Yeah.
Cool. Now, Before we wrap up, I just want to ask you, Scarlett, about your experience as an international student
Oh, yeah.
applying to Oxford. You were at school in Switzerland before.
Yeah.
What was it like going from being in Switzerland to being in the UK? And yeah, do you think it made any difference? And if it did, how did you manage those differences?
I'd say so. I live in Geneva in Switzerland. So one aspect there was the language. I mean, I did most of my lessons in French, so doing like maths all of a sudden in English was a bit of a change. But that's why it was good that I took a gap year because I did manage to like review stuff in English, things like that. Make sure I knew all the terminology and stuff. So I think there's that aspect. Then for like the more positive in Geneva, it's quite like I'd say it's an old person kind of city. So it was nice coming to Oxford, seeing like all these young people and we're always going out, always having such a good time. So I would say Oxford is a lot funner than Geneva, just because I think, yeah, Geneva's a bit boring in my opinion, but it's a lovely place to grow up, obviously. But compared to Oxford, I've had
A lot of
some
people could
great
be saying
times.
Oxford has no
People
nightlife.
say that, but for me, when I compare it to Geneva, I'm like, this is an amazing nightlife. I think people, when they compare it to like London or like the big cities, they'll like say it differently. But I do think then in general, I feel like there's not that much of a difference apart from the language and like the fact that I didn't do A levels. So maybe I've done different things to other people. So there's that. But you don't really notice in earth sciences just because, as you say, they bring everyone up to speed. Um, and and yeah, and it's good. Well, I actually don't pay international fees, which is good. I get international storage. I've kind of the best of
Wow,
both
that's great.
because I am
Jealous.
Yeah, literally. I have the English passport, so it means that, and there's some sort of deal struck between Switzerland and England, which is now like until I think it's until 2027 or 2028. So the people after that year will have to pay international fees, but not me.
Right.
So I'll be fine. And I get international storage, which is really helpful with all my stuff.
Yeah,
So I
because obviously
can,
we have to move out at the end of term.
because we have to move out at the end of
Yeah.
every time and then move back in. So I feel like maybe it's more of an advantage, if anything.
Yeah, for sure.
Lots of stairs.
Yeah.
Lots of carrying boxes up and down
Yeah,
stairs
yeah.
every single time
Yeah.
and regretting the purchases of the term.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You really need to bring all of these rocks back tomorrow and not get in your tote bag that you. Yeah, biggest bit of advice I can give to freshers is just get as many tote bags as you can.
Okay, that's a good segue into sort of the final big question of the episode, which is like your golden like piece of advice to a potential earth sciences student. Aside from getting loads of tote bags, what is like the thing that you want somebody to take away from this episode?
I'd say just don't stress. Obviously, it's easy to say don't stress. It's quite general, but don't worry about the course. There are lots of people there to support you. There are lots of lecturers there who are more than willing to support. The year group is very supportive. Don't worry about coming in and not knowing anyone. No one really knows anyone unless you're from that one particular school that keeps sending a bunch of geologists. But yeah,
Is that your school? Or?
no.
Okay.
There's one where I think they have up to 3 years in a row where they sent sort of 2 earth scientists.
Oh, wow.
But yeah, just relax, come in. It's a great degree. It's fantastic, and don't worry if you're really not into rocks because you're strange and you don't like rocks.
Good one. Don't worry if you're not into rocks. Yeah, I'd just say earth sciences is a fun degree. It's fun. You get field trips, you get practicals, you get OUGS, you get rock tells. So I think if you're hesitating between different subjects, but you're saying, well, I do like STEM, but I also like writing essays. I don't know what to choose. I think earth science is a good midpoint. It links everything together. So yeah, there's really nothing negative you
Buy
would
some
say.
good walking shoes.
Buy some good walking shoes.
Good walking shoes.
And it's a hard hat.
You'll be
and
given a hard
hammer and
hat.
everything
Full
included.
provided
They give
for
you
you.
all this.
Do you get to
hammer.
keep the hammer afterwards?
Oh, do you?
Fine.
It's yours. Great.
Hard hat. And be sporty, I guess. Be ready to be doing a lot.
We're the only department that I know of that gives people weapons.
Yeah,
when
I
they
was gonna
first
say that
arrive.
looks quite dangerous.
And it's like heavy as well.
It's
Can I
proper.
feel it?
Oh, you can. It's
Oh wow. You better watch out.
it's a proper hammer.
Yeah,
It's
wow.
it's fantastic. I love it.
Cool.
Yeah.
Great.
Evidence. Yeah, it's a yeah.
There we go.
Field trips are the highlight.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Is
it
wise.
sounds so good. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, definitely. Fun degree. Everyone's so nice. A very small course. You'll be very close to your course mates. And just, yeah, I'd say
You should
it's
have won that for the whole episode.
great vibes.
Yeah.
I don't want to be accused of being Bob the Builder.
Oh, fair enough, fair enough. Yeah.
My icon.
It really is.
Great. Yeah. Thank you both very much for your time. Hopefully everybody watching found it useful. And I think that's all from me. That's all from us. Bye, and thank you for listening.
Thank you so much.
Swear.
Bye.